It's Monday night, and you know what that means. The Jersey First Television Network proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And yes, I am New Jersey's premier and now 10-time award-winning journalist, top Latino, as voted on by the Latino Spirit Online magazine, along with the United States Latino Affairs Initiative. And without a doubt, ladies and gentlemen, I'll continue to be the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, because my level of honesty, now more than ever, is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it is me, the generational talent, and of course, the people's choice and the people's voice. Fernando Uribe, saying happy Monday to everyone as we're wrapping up this month here of November. Obviously, Thanksgiving just a few days away. Hopefully, folks, we'll be able to afford Thanksgiving again, thank the Lord, at this time next year. So, but for this year, obviously, in advance, on behalf of the Jersey First Television Network, we want to wish you all a very happy and festive Thanksgiving. Of course, please party responsibly on Thanksgiving Eve on Wednesday night. And of course, make sure you don't eat too much on Thursday and enjoy all the good specials on Black Friday. Folks, again, I can't say it enough, obviously, for all of you that check us out on our social media. Thank you for tuning in. And of course, for liking our content. Of course, don't forget to like us on Facebook, Real Talk with Fernando Uribe, and also Jersey First. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Jersey First. And of course, don't forget to follow yours truly on Instagram and Twitter, otherwise known as X. And of course, folks, it takes 2 seconds. Click the subscribe button on YouTube, and you'll be automatically notified of all the great content that we bring you here every week on the Jersey First Television Network. And of course, wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First, and you'll be notified of all the great podcasts that we bring you every single week, whether you're doing errands, whether you're going for a run, even for people traveling to and from last week's League of Municipalities in Atlantic City. By the way, a shout out to everybody I ran into, all the fans. Of course, a lot of haters out there who, I'm just happy to smile at from a distance. And, since I'm not going anywhere, it kind of sucks to be you guys. But in any event, you might want to go to Duane Reade or Walgreens or CVS and get some ointment for that burn, folks. So, of course, again, take Jersey First with you anywhere at any time. And, of course, I cannot say enough what a privilege it is to be on the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Jersey First TV. Of course, brand new episodes of The Nader Narrative premiere every Thursday, hosted by the outstanding Elizabeth Nader, and brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malillo and Stephen Rombolo also premiere on Thursdays. And, of course, every Monday night, check your local listings, of course. And you can check out, of course, live and in living color, latest edition of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe, once again here on the Jersey First Television Network. Folks, you want to stick around for final thoughts? I have a lot to say tonight on a couple of different people for different reasons. And, of course, folks, we all know what a disaster the city of Hoboken continues to become, obviously, under the leadership or lack thereof of course, Mayor Ravi Bala, and certainly the members of the Lollipop Guild, city council members there that support and obviously coddle and enable this joke of a mayor in Hoboken. Of course, we're talking about Joe Quintero, certainly the prom queen, Emily Jabor, of course, the charisma vacuum, Jim Doyle, and of course, speaking of charisma vacuums, Phil Cohen as well. Folks, by the way, if you ever near Phil Cohen, be careful. You might pass out from oxygen deprivation with the size of that nose and those nostrils. I mean, they take away oxygen from everybody in the vicinity. So you want to be careful when you're near Phil Cohen. But folks, we'll talk a little bit about the disaster that is the city of Hoboken, of course, under the leadership, lack thereof, of course, of Ravi Bala. And of course, folks, also you want to stick around. I'm going to have a lot to say about the usual Trump derangement syndrome in New Jersey media, activism, and of course, other avenues of the great state of New Jersey. And of course, folks, this week, I'll be happy to sort of take to task one of the more insufferable feminists and cat ladies. Folks, I can smell the cat piss. Just like looking at this picture, I can just smell the cat piss already. Of course, folks, we're talking about Amy Torres, the executive director of the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, aka another left-wing organization that lives to coddle illegals. So we'll get a little bit into Amy Torres and what a god-awful organization she runs, along with Ravi Bala, later on in Final Thoughts. Folks, you don't want to miss that. Definitely here later in the broadcast. And of course, folks, some special announcements and some birthday greetings here on the show. Folks, it's been a great November for conservatives like myself. Obviously, I'm rocking that red. For those of you that saw me last week at the League of Municipalities, folks, you know how giddy I was rocking the American flag suit, courtesy of Oppo Suits via opposuits.com. But folks, it's been a great November because it gives conservatives, Republicans, and those that believe in free speech and parental rights and government transparency some serious momentum going into 2025. And I can tell you a voice that's going to make a lot of noise in 2025, whether it's advocacy, going to Trenton, holding the legislature accountable. Folks, I got to tell you, it's my good friend. He's the co-founder of Wake Up NJ, which, again, you can check out on Facebook. Of course, follow them on Instagram and Twitter. Folks, he's my good friend. Michael Archon joins us live here on Real Talk. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Fernando?
Good, man. It's been a good November, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And folks, again, if you're not familiar with Wake Up NJ, great grassroots organization. Again, check them out on Facebook. Follow them on Instagram and Twitter. Also on TikTok, they have wonderful content. And folks, if you believe in parental rights, if you believe in advocacy, if you believe in holding all the woke fools in New Jersey accountable, Wake Up NJ does a great job at that. So, Michael, let's get right to it here. Obviously, some great work that you're doing there with Wake Up NJ.
Well,
I know you're lately, obviously, looking to really hold the as they say, the
heat to the fire.
Well, obviously, but a great piece you had today, and it doesn't surprise me that out of tax competitiveness, the Garden State ranks 49 out of 50. Pretty embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Yet another blemish on this disastrous record for the Emperor, aka Phil Murphy. But for our audience that maybe isn't aware or familiar with what exactly is tax competitiveness, break it down for us, please.
It's basically just a conglomeration of everything from like property taxes to sales tax and all kinds of basically what you're spending on the state. And if you guys didn't know, New Jersey has the worst property taxes in the country. We spend, I think the average is now over $10,000 per resident in the United States, in New Jersey, which is wild. And apparently the closest is not even like within the margin. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, just for clarification purposes, it's average, which is, I mean, it's still inexcusable, but it's average. It just went up, I think, earlier this year the average is $9,410.
Oh, so they said it was going to, so maybe it hasn't yet, but they said it's going to.
It's wild because where I live here in Hudson County, I mean, I walk 2 blocks, I look at Manhattan. So I get it. Where I'm living, you're paying for where you live, as they say, right?
Definitely.
I can walk 2 blocks. I see Manhattan. I jump, a block away. I jump on the light rail. I can get to Hoboken. I'm pretty blessed when it comes to having access to mass transit. Having said that, when I drive just a little bit north on what's called River Road, and I head into Southern Bergen County, I mean, it gets pricey here in Union City. My mayor and state senator, by and large, does a really good job keeping property taxes reasonable. However, as I said, when you go to Southern Bergen County into Fort Lee, Dumont, Alpine, we're talking about $12,000, $13,000 on average. And then if you travel a little bit south onto 78, you're hitting Short Hills, you're hitting Summit, you're hitting almost really, Springfield. We're talking about $21,000, $22,000. So these are egregious amounts. And it kind of makes you wonder, where's it all going to, Michael?
Well, a lot of it's your school taxes, which is a problem. And over the summer, we had some major issues with shifting of funding. I'll give you Tom's River, for example. Tom's River had a catastrophic millions and millions of dollars shifted from their school system to around the state. What's mind blowing is that they had to actually cut down trees in Tom's River in order to fund the school budget. And you go to a place like Newark, whose budget blew up from 1.2 billion, I think, to 1.5 billion, and they're throwing parties and they're doing salary raises, and these people are just struggling just to try to make ends meet. To keep the staff up and running. It blows my mind.
And it's interesting because the reading and writing level in Newark public schools isn't anything to brag about.
No.
So it kind of makes you wonder, okay, where, to your point, where are the property taxes being used for? And, to some extent, and obviously, we'll get to the NGEA later because I have a bone to pick with them. Mm-hmm. And I even said so to their president, who coincidentally is running for governor of the Democratic Party. And I had a chance to talk to him for a few minutes at the League of Municipalities. And I was like, Mr. Spiller, with all due respect, I mean, listen, I'm always going to hold it against you that you, along with the NGEA, kept schools closed a lot longer than they should have been. You kept with this nonsensical mask mandate and insistence on masks. I mean, your union was happy to vilify people like me who are not vaccinated. And again, I think that the learning loss that our kids will exhibit at some point we may not know for another few years, though, Michael. So it's one of those things where, it makes you wonder about property taxes. And yes, listen, some school districts are responsible. I can tell you the school district here in Union City where I reside, the superintendent, the administration, they work very hard. I'm not sure if you saw, it was a story over the summer on the Bergen Record. Not that the Bergen Record is the most dependable thing out there, but to hear that the Union City School District exhibited the least amount of learning loss of any school district in the state, I was ecstatic. It was a testament to the hard work and leadership of our superintendent here, the assistant superintendents, the administrators, the teachers. But not every school district got that lucky, Michael.
No, not at all. It's a shame because, like, my kids are 15, 12, and 9, and
Wow.
they were right there at the heart of when COVID broke loose. I mean, my one kid was in pre-K and my other one was in first, and they got hit the hardest. And my middle guy, he still struggles with reading. Now, sure, he's partially dyslexic, and we're still working through that. But so many kids just haven't never caught up, and then they had this, just push them through, just push them through, just push them through, and then these kids are so far behind still that they're getting frustrated. They're getting upset about like the little things now. But we still do not have basic skills. I mean, we're teaching she, her, them, and teaching Common Core when most kids probably in these schools can't do 3 times 3. It doesn't make any sense from a standpoint of like, what are we doing in our state with curriculum, with our students, with their time? I mean, like, they should be like, so much of school is wasted, honestly. I mean, you think about like how much of your schooling do you actually utilize, right? And basic reading should be something that every kid should know how to do. Newark, it's like most of the kids don't even know how to do it. Basic math. Why? It doesn't make any sense. What is happening in these areas that is causing this? Is it incompetence? It's the government? What is it? You have $1.5 billion to spend. What's the reason you can't do it?
Oh, absolutely. And folks, if you're just joining us right now, it's 6:41 here on the East Coast. And my guest tonight is one of the co-founders of Wake Up NJ. Again, you can check him out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and also on TikTok. The great Michael Archon joins us here live on Real Talk. Folks, again, like, comment, and subscribe. It takes 2 seconds to show your support for Real Talk tonight here on the Jersey First Television Network. And Michael, it's interesting because when we talk about wasteful spending, we see it at the municipal level, but we've been seeing it in Trenton. And I've been the only journalist in media, really, whether it's establishment or citizen journalism, as they say, to try to hold legislators accountable. And I talk to legislators on this program, both Republicans and Democrats, all the time and say, wait a second, what's going on in Trenton? Ever since Phil Murphy took office in 2018, and again, I can't really blame Phil Murphy. He didn't lie to us. He told us exactly what he was going to do in 2017. He literally wants to make New Jersey the California of the East Coast. And let's be fair, what a shit show California is under Gavin Newsom, right? And it seems like Phil Murphy, whether it's the electric vehicle mandate, whether it's establishing New Jersey as a sanctuary state, whether it's blowing up the budget. I mean, the budget has gotten as fat as some of these Victoria's Secret models lately that we've been seeing, modeling lingerie. It's really crazy. Mm-hmm. I think one of the more egregious things about Trenton, because legislators come and go, sitting presidents come and go, assembly speakers come and go, but the last couple of governors, and again, I'm going to take Chris Christie to task too. It just seems like, listen, what are we experiencing now? A rise in the gas tax, a rise in turnpike tolls, and also in the parkway tolls as well, turnpike as well. It just seems to me that whoever's running for governor next year, and I was having this conversation at the League of Municipalities with multiple candidates. I just said, I guarantee you'll get 500,000 votes right from the start, whether you're Republican or Democrat. If you just said these sentences, on my first day in office, I'm going to sign an executive order. We audit New Jersey Transit. We audit the Turnpike Authority, and we audit the Garden State Parkway Authority. I said, I promise you, I guarantee I'll burn every Cowboys jersey in my closet.
Oh my God.
Okay. And that's big for me because I won't do that for anything. I guarantee you, Michael, I'm so sure whoever runs and says that and pledges that would easily get 500,000 votes because that's how much incompetence exists in just 3 state agencies.
Look at the summer hell with New Jersey Transit.
Correct.
It's insane. Like, it really blows my mind. looking at what people had to deal with New Jersey Transit and going into New Jersey and then going into New York and the shit show. Let's just quite frankly say what it is. And now they're getting a bailout basically by the federal government to fix it. It's almost like they effed up on purpose to get the federal funding. But also, you got the transportation fund. Just a few years ago, I'm not too sure what's updated as, we had the worst roads and the most expensive roads in the country. If you don't know, I think it was like $1.1 million per mile in New Jersey, and we were 50th in the nation for roads. Why? Why is that? Like the next state was like New York, and it was like 900,000, and California was like 336 or something like that thousand. It makes no sense, the level of incompetence. And by the way, the raising of your gas tax is going towards those roads. So what's happening there? Why is the money being wasted? Who's wasting it? Like, what is the problem here? We talk about like how expensive it is. That's a huge problem right there.
No, it really is. And it makes me wonder, it's like this acronym for the fund is like the Transportation Trust Fund. What exactly am I trusting about transportation, to your point, where roads are still a disaster? Listen, I was driving down Atlantic City for the League of Municipalities last week, and up by me, between exit 16E and exit 11 on the turnpike, the roads are still shitty. And then, of course, okay, you get to the Parkway, all right, fine. But my God, I'm like, wait a second, where are these tolls going towards? Where's the gas tax? And mind you, thankfully, in less than 60 days, we'll have a new administration in the White House, and obviously, hopefully, we'll see what fuel looks like within maybe the springtime. But my God, regardless, I mean, we're seeing prices dip under $3 for the first time, but they're still high because of the gas tax. I mean, ideally, I would think that gas would probably be $2.50 in New Jersey on average if it wasn't for the gas tax. And then it's like, okay, well, where's this going towards when the roads are still absolutely trash?
We live here. If I go towards Philadelphia, where I work sometimes, they have this highway project that is still going on. It's been going on since I was a kid there, and it won't be done till like 10 more years from now. This is the level of incompetence. If my company, I work in concrete, if my company did that, we'd be fired. Like, that's ridiculous. Wasted money. That's your dollars going down the tubes. And I know you drive by it every day if you're watching it down there on Route 42 and wondering, when the hell is this thing going to be done? Because it's clogging up traffic. It's construction vehicles all the time. There's tons of accidents there. It makes no sense why this is still going on. And it just, this companies just keep limping and limping. It almost feels like they're just stretching it out as far as it can. When you say, here's the money, here's the deadline, do it or you're fired. That's it. It should be that simple.
No, listen, I agree. And it kind of makes you wonder where the efficiency of the private sector kind of comes into the discussion, right? Where like you wouldn't see this level of incompetence in the private sector. If you're not getting the job done, and it's certainly, and you're seeing money being wasted and squandered, there's going to be some accountability. Heads are going to roll. You're not seeing that in Trenton. You don't see that sense of urgency from Governor Murphy or Senate President Scutari or Assembly Speaker Coughlin. Case in point, I was at a Latinos on the Move mixer at the League at the Tropicana Hotel, and I was able to speak with with the Assembly Speaker for like a couple minutes. Not people just converge on him. And I said, Mr. Speaker, hi, Fernando Uribe, and he kind of gave me this look like, oh, I know who you are. And I'm like, oh, wow, I get that a lot from people on the left, especially in government, Michael. But I was just like, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, what's going on with property taxes here? My God, like, are they ever going to go down? And he just looked, he goes, well, Fernando, I'm trying. We're trying. And I looked at him, Mr. Speaker, you got to try harder here. I mean, like, it seems like, like the Phillies try harder in October, and that's saying something because they don't really try. So it's like, what's going on here? And, it was an amicable conversation. We shook hands, we exchanged contact information. I'm hoping to have the speaker on next year on the program, but it just seems like when you're talking to some legislators in Trenton, there's a level of tone deaf. It's like they almost don't even try to hide it anymore.
No. When I was there, I think it was March, and I mentioned about the gas tax raise. There was 20, I would say like 20, maybe it was like 15 lobbyists before me talking about how great this is for the transportation, and they were trying to take the fee away from the EVs at that point. So and there's nobody like against this thing. At least I don't remember. But my point is that like I get up there and I mention the same thing to you: worst roads, most expensive roads, and the Democrats are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe." It's like they've never heard somebody call them out before on their bullshit. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, some people might say I'm trying to rile people up. Listen, I think that these legislators are are coddled, and they just don't want to be told that, listen, you're wrong. They want to be said everything's great. No, everything's wrong. Like, our state is completely unaffordable. We're building affordable houses everywhere when you can't even fix our taxes. So if you just fixed everything else, there wouldn't have to be affordable houses. Everything would just be affordable. You know what I mean?
And it's far from it when it comes to New Jersey, whether it's, whether it's property taxes, whether it's the fact that people are moving out of New Jersey. I mean, this idea that New Jersey's remained affordable under Phil Murphy, like, that's a lie. Like, that, you have to be completely myopic intellectually and politically to even espouse those words, because it's just not affordable. I know plenty of people moving to Pennsylvania, moving to Delaware, moving to the Carolinas, Georgia, even Florida. Again, obviously the weather makes a factor, but just the affordability of it. And it's just funny to me where people on the left in Trenton, or, these left-wing, economists that, sort of pontificate about economics in New Jersey, right? That it's, oh no, well, New Jersey's trying, but you have to understand that, like, we have the best schools, which we don't. And of course, yes, we, obviously we're spending, but we're a welcoming state. We're trying to help everyone. And the problem is that your heart's in the right place, but your head is up your ass. And I say it all the time to some of the left-wing legislators and even these woke activists, Michael, who unfortunately tend to get the ears of some of these legislators, and it shows with some of the legislation that they push. I mean, is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And the thing is, like, that's where I blame the news, and that's part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want to get big enough where, like, these MSM media people in New Jersey, like, we're dictating some conversations, and we're making enough noise that it's like worrying them that, like, oh my God, we're not like the definitive voice. Like, we're trying to bring awareness to this bill called S2421, which is a bill to protect librarians and school staff from purchasing and distributing inappropriate books. And the media labels us book banners. And we're just trying to say, listen, you're trying to break the law, and we're just trying to explain to you. And the legislators like, yeah, whatever, we don't care. And I'm like, dude, like, the malevolence from our government is really bad. Whether it's gas tax, whether it's the bird feeder ban, whether it's the book nonsense here, like, these legislators are out of control. There are some great bills that are out there that are bipartisan that I love, like a homeschool bill that allows a bill that allows homeschoolers to play in sports. That's a great bill. We need more of that, not divisive bills like putting healthcare centers on school properties. Like, there's such a divide with some of these pieces of legislation that it's almost like it's meant to just stir the pot, and it drives me nuts. It's like, focus on the people, not on your ideology. That's the problem here. We're not thinking about everybody. We're thinking about one side, and one side's like, yeah, we don't care about you. Just your voice doesn't matter. And I want to make it so that we have a voice, and they're scared to death that we're getting loud, we're getting vocal, we're getting active, and we're going to flip New Jersey red. That's what they're worried about the most.
Oh, absolutely. Again, folks, if you're just joining us right now, it's 6:51 here on the East Coast. My guest tonight is one of the co-founders of Wake Up NJ. You can check him out on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And of course, Michael Archon joins us here live on Real Talk. And Michael, to your point, I mean, it seems like the establishment media, and take your pick, right? It's all these like news channels like NJ Spotlight News. It's websites that are dying out like the Star Ledger, thank the Lord. I'm counting the days until Tom Moran's unemployed. That useless bastard. The Jersey Journal. We're looking at, useless news sites like Insider NJ, who seem to still be in denial about what happened 3 weeks ago, about still trying to understand the autopsy of why the Democrat Party is losing working class people. Because for decades, all we ever heard from Democrats is, we're the party of the working class. We're the party that's anti-war. We're the party that doesn't want, excessive government spending. And guess what? In just 20 years, all right, what we've seen is the Democrats, both in New Jersey and nationally, are all about war, funding war, woke ideology. They care more about pronouns than public safety. More on that later, folks in Hoboken. You want to stay tuned for that. Okay. And all this woke nonsense that you saw people from all demographics. It wasn't just like, oh, well, Democrats and these established news sites like MSNBC and CNN and the Star Ledger and Insider NJ and NJ Spotlight News. Well, it's about misogyny or racism. No, it's about the fact that Democrats lost working class white people, black people, brown people like me, okay, a lot of women, a lot of Gen Zers, where they would think, oh, well, Gen Z, no, they understood the economic plight that we were living under. And also, too, the idea that I don't care about your email signature. Okay. That doesn't resolve you going to the supermarket. Michael, when you go to the supermarket, wherever you shop at, and you pay at the kiosk, and there's options there, okay? Cash, credit card, debit card. There's no option there, folks, for all you left wingers out there to press, selective moral outrage as a payment method to pay for your groceries. And unfortunately, I think it's journalists, or really propagandists in New Jersey, Michael, are still in this sort of denial. Well, why did Democrats lose? Why did someone like Donald Trump, or why did Republicans get seats in the Senate and in the House this November? Why, when Republicans are racists and homophobes and xenophobes and misogynists? And I just think it's like, hey, if you want to be that short-sighted, good, you'll keep losing elections.
Well, if you want my opinion about this, here it comes. So I noticed, like, the Bud Light effect, for example, right? When Bud Light with Dolo Mulvaney, I think that's what his name is, people were like, this ideology, it's like you didn't just go a little bit, you went like way too far with it. And that's what it came down to. You didn't just, do a little bit and little nuggets, and then we just couldn't really understand like what was happening. We saw it first and foremost, and it's like, holy shit, this is insane. So when I look at the Democrat Party, the problem is that you're trying to play identity politics when people can't afford their car insurance. They can't afford the groceries. They can't afford the heat in their house. The kitchen table issues is what won Republicans everything. That's really what it comes down to. And the messaging is an issue for the Democrats because they thought that was the messaging. The problem is that now they have to make a choice. They say, do you abandon the woke ideology and you go back to kitchen table issues? Well, the problem is that now you have that woke leftist people that you have. What are you going to alienate them? They're not going to vote for you now. So then if you keep with them, you're going to, and you stick with them, you're actually a sinking ship. So like, what do? I think the Democrat Party is in disarray by how to present themselves. And I think the GOP in New Jersey needs definitely a wake-up call with approach and understanding appeal. And we're actually helping them out a little bit with their social media right now and trying to give them an insight to be like, listen, work with more grassroots, help, share content with each other. I'm trying to bring all the GOPs in New Jersey on Twitter into like one group and, and basically streamline things. That way your messaging shows like what you're doing, and spaces like what I'm doing every Wednesday night at 8 on X are the new media. People aren't watching the news, and that's it. Yeah. The Trump, I think they said the shift was people listen to podcasts went plus 16 for Trump.
Yeah.
That's a detrimental to the MSN. And as I said, these type of shows is what's going to change things for the better.
Absolutely. Well, and thanks for the kind words. I appreciate that, Michael.
You're welcome.
Folks, keep the comments coming here in the comments section. We got some people watching on YouTube, obviously on Facebook, as well as on Twitter. DPatriot1776, thank you. Appreciate that. Good stuff there, obviously. Dave Petrie, Donald Kohler, Connie Malone, Murphy, Shanita, Donald Kohler, as well as Lee Rostian. Yeah, guys, keep the comments coming. It takes 2 seconds. Like, comment, and share tonight's episode with one of the co-founders of Wake Up NJ, Michael Archon, joins us live here on Real Talk. And again, a lot of great points here. And Michael, to your point, again, it was a great 2024 for conservatism to get back to common sense, populism. But now 2025 is less than a month and a half away. And certainly here in New Jersey, it's always an election season. There's never like an off season, like you do like in the sports teams, right? There's never an off season. Obviously next year, going into next November, all 80 assembly seats will be on the ballot. Certainly we'll have a lot of municipal races in November. Case in point, for example, where I live in Hudson County, right nearby, we have Hoboken and Jersey City, two of the largest cities in New Jersey, with both mayoral elections and city council elections. And of course, we'll have other municipal races like in Parsippany, which I'll be covering on this show. I'll be moderating the debate in the spring in Parsippany, folks. So stay tuned for that on the Jersey First Television Network. But obviously going into next June is the primary. And of course, no county lines for both Democrats and Republicans, apparently. And, there are plenty of candidates for both parties. Obviously, on the Democrat Party side, we have nearby Mayor Jersey City Mayor Steve Fulop, Newark Mayor Ross Baraka, former Senate President Steve Sweeney, NGEA President and former Montclair Mayor Sean Spiller, as well as I think maybe am I missing anybody? I don't think so.
Stoudemire.
That's right. And recently declared U.S. Representative Josh Gottheimer and U.S. Representative Mikey Sherrill. So a very crowded field with the Democrat Party. On the Republican side, not as crowded, though. We have former Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli, two-time nominee, running for governor. We have the charisma vacuum, John Bramnick. I'm sorry, excuse me, State Senator John Bramnick. Mm-hmm. And of course, we have NJ 101.5 FM personality, Bill Spadia. So not as crowded a field with Republicans. We'll get to them in a minute, but I sort of want to, maybe dissect this a little bit, Michael, because I got a chance to speak to almost all of the Democrat Party candidates in Atlantic City at the league. And of course, they'll try to sweet talk you and charm you like that guy trying to pick up that girl, during last call at a bar. Really, it was that sort of sweet talking. And of course, I'm looking forward to having them on in the new year. But it's interesting because a position that I think a lot of them have been taking lately, and it's sort of been going mainstream now in terms of coverage is, what did we learn during this election cycle? Americans were concerned about illegal immigration, about the impact of illegals, the way that illegals, and their children overcrowd our schools, the way they are destroying to some extent the real estate market. They're destroying our quality of life in many neighborhoods. Listen, I'm the son of immigrants. I get it. But my parents came here legally. They did it the right way, and I get it. That's decades ago. But the bottom line is we had an administration in Washington and a governor in New Jersey that was perfectly happy to, hey, let the border wide open, coddle illegals, declare New Jersey a sanctuary state. And it seems like Democrats running for governor next year are a little giddy about maybe exploring the option of codifying, making New Jersey a sanctuary state, just like they codified, access to terminate a pregnancy. Is this just madness, Michael?
They're a bunch of idiots. That is like, if you think about like this, right? I get sent things every single day about murders, robbings, stabbings, car accidents, people's houses. There was just a recent one, I can't remember the city, where it was a widow and she was stabbed in their home, and the legal was trying to cover it up and everything. And obviously they were arrested. But the point is, it's like they shouldn't be here. They shouldn't. Why are you trying to justify this? I actually think that this is a terrible, terrible move. If you just look at, the way things are going, people don't want them here. And the issue is, if you come here legally, that's really great. And I talk to immigrants, and they love being here. But if you're here and you're not supposed to be, I'm sorry, you're breaking the law. And then the Democrats will say, well, we're just going to, separate families. I'm like, what are you going to do? It's like, they all just go back. That's what it comes down to. Did you know that in New Jersey, 1 out of 10 people is an illegal immigrant? That is insane.
That's wild. That's absolutely wild. I was not aware of that stat. It's crazy.
That's not the worst part, is that these illegals are getting driver's licenses. How they get driver's insurance? You're not a resident. You're not an American citizen. Yeah. Okay, and let's not talk about the voting nonsense. I don't even want to get into that, if they're voting or not. But like, your money in your schools, your school classroom sizes, your buses,
correct?
You're paying for all this.
Yeah. No, listen, Michael. What irritates me the most, I think, is, again, not just legislators or even the governor. It's these left-wing organizations, which I'll cook a little bit later during final thoughts, folks. Again, you want to stick around for that, ladies and gentlemen. But it's interesting because it's like, yes, it's not in their backyard. They live in these little ritzy communities, whether it's down the shore or in like downtown Jersey City, where they don't see it firsthand. But I talk to a lot of teachers in different school districts around New Jersey, and we're seeing classrooms getting overcrowded. I remember, again, I'm sort of dating myself here, but back in elementary school, if you had 20 kids in a classroom, that was a lot, Michael. Mm-hmm. Now we're seeing in a lot of densely populated urban areas, we are seeing school districts with classrooms the sizes of 35, 40, even sometimes 50 students. How can a teacher, for God's sakes, even manage a curriculum, manage a workload for 50 kids, and some who don't know English, some who were brought here illegally, some because of birthright citizenship, which I would argue we should do away with, were born here when their parents came here illegally across the border. And now, again, they're cluttering our classrooms. They're utilizing and using up our social services. Okay. They are essentially, to your point, I think one of the biggest mistakes the legislature made in recent years was giving driver's licenses to illegals. Now, I get it that there's, you can't really register to vote because Well, you have to prove your citizenship. Really? We don't think that some Democrat apparatuses in New Jersey are trying to register illegals? Really?
I don't want to comment because, like, the thing is, though, is that, like, the apparatus is there for it. And the thing is, though, is that, like, I'll tell you what the malevolence is. If you look at the driver's license bill for the illegals, I think it was every single Democrat assembly was a sponsor. All right. There's a bill in our legislature right now to get rid of the signature verification for that bill. How many assembly do you think did it? Every single Democrat assembly. So when I see things like that, when I see bills that have almost an overwhelming amount of Democrats, it's something they really want, and it's something malevolent. And I implore you, if you ever need to learn about your bills or your legislators, definitely message me, because, like, you'd be shocked how much garbage there is out there. I think it was 8,500 bills since January have been introduced. That is insane. There's days where I have to scan through 15, 16, 17 pages of trash. Okay, there's a bill right now to turn November 21st of November into urinary tract infection day. This is what the people in New Jersey, your legislators, are more worried about than lowering your taxes. Like, why? Why does a bill like that exist? It makes no sense.
I mean, listen, I'm not a medical doctor, but Jesus Christ, if you want to cure UTI, just drink more water, for God's sakes. I mean, Jesus.
But it just goes to show you how insane this is. This is what they're worried about.
Yeah, I mean, ladies, I mean, if you get a UTI, newsflash, you can either just drink more water or drink more cranberry juice, for God's sakes, and you'll get rid of it. I mean, it's this. We don't need to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in a study wastefully, in Trenton to.
It's not a study. They want to make it a day. That's my son's birthday. There's no way that'll be the day for UTI.
Yeah, and it's interesting you bring that up, because, again, it seems like this virtue signaling and all the woke culture has really, I think New Jersey really stands out in the Northeast, because, and I was having a conversation at the league with the executive director of Garden State Equality, who has taken me to task because of some comments I've made on this program where he and others in the organization think I'm a homophobe or a transphobe or a bigot, whatever. And I'm just not. What I don't like doing is coddling this community, on a daily basis. Case in point, did you know, again, you're great with facts and knowledge, and let me throw this one at you. Did you know, folks at home, and also for Michael, there are 145 calendar days in a year specifically catered to the LGBTQ plus? I mean, I can't even think of the acronym anymore. It's like they're adding consonants all the time.
It's just an affinity sign at that point.
Yeah, every calendar year you have Lesbian Visibility Day in March, but then in the summer you have Lesbian Awareness Day. Wait, what? Like, we need 2 days to know about lesbians? We know they exist. I love lesbians, but do we need 2 days? We have Pride Month. Fine. Listen, I'm Hispanic, and we want to learn about Hispanic heritage, Black history. I'm all for that. However, the overkill is what turns people off, Michael. Again, this is why this election cycle was so crucial, because people were tired of the woke bullshit. The idea that pronouns are important. Or, fine, June is Pride Month, but then October is, LGBTQ History Month. And then November is Transgender Awareness Month. Then we have Transgender Day of Remembrance in March. Then we have Transgender Awareness Week. Then we have Asexual Awareness Day. So wait a second. So we're supposed to glorify people who are asexual, who don't like having sex. Like, why are we glorifying this nonsense?
Because you have to keep the narrative going. Look at, for example, though, I'll give you guys a little bit of hope here. Look at Disney, Warner Brothers, anybody that's pushed this woke garbage, it's failing miserably because people, like, there's a point where, as I said, like, you just went too far. You just did too much. Like, we're sick of the nonsense. And then the other thing is, and I'll implore to people, it's enough activism on our side to say, we've had enough. And we shouldn't ever let it get to that point where we say we've had enough. We say, stop the nonsense. The parents are here. You're the children. Stop with the garbage. Okay. Our children don't want to deal with it. Our children don't want to see it. There's a, I think it's in California, like, a dad is being removed from his kid as like 12 years old. And the mom is going to, like, do castration on the kid. Like, what are we doing here? We're not the ideology has gone way beyond just like this fringe little thing. It is a cult. And I'm sorry to say that for people like Guards to Equality, like they'll label you homophobe and irate. What it really comes down to is that we're just trying to understand why you want to hurt children who aren't developed, who don't understand. There's a book like at my library. It's a 4-year-old talking about like, am I a boy? Am I a girl? What are my pronouns? Why? Like I was still playing with Ninja Turtles at 13 years old. These people are lopping off parts at 8.
Excuse me. It was wild because again, I ran into the executive director, and he and I have a good rapport. He's been on this show multiple times, and we have a good conversation. Like we're fellow Cowboys fans. We talk on this show. We don't scream over each other, but he was trying to call me out and say, listen, I've been seeing some of your content, your rhetoric. And I'm like, wait a second. You have people in your organization who get triggered, like Lauren Albrecht. I mean, Miss Photogenic, by the way, if you ever check her out, my God, who gets triggered, Michael, because you misgender people. That is how insane. People want to say conservatives like you and I are in a cult. No, we're not. We're commonsensical. We don't lose our minds about misgendering people. I personally don't care about pronouns. I don't, if I misgender someone, oh, well, I mean, that happens. Life, shit happens. It's not something that's high on my radar when it comes to priorities, but it's interesting how not just those in the legislature, but even once again, establishment media in New Jersey, they coddle this nonsense instead of calling it out. And again, understanding why people were repudiating this agenda during this election cycle, not just again at the presidential level, school board races, and of course, winning House seats and Senate seats. Again, I had a good feeling Donald Trump was going to get reelected. I knew it was going to be easy because, people love the identity nonsense and, the word salad queen was keeping it close. But I just said, I think people are underpolling when it comes to being sick of this bullshit, being sick of the woke nonsense, all the social justice buffoonery. And I think the bill came due 3 weeks ago. Having said that, Michael, going into 2025, my concern, number one, the NJGOP can get out its own way sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I go after them all the time. I know their chairman, he's not a big fan of Fernando Uribe. That's okay. He can get in line. But it's interesting where, yes, Donald Trump came within almost 5 points of winning New Jersey for the first time since George H.W. Bush in 1988, because there was a lot of disenchantment with the Democrat Party. Having said that, next year going into June, though, Donald Trump's not on the ballot. And if Donald Trump comes to New Jersey again in the spring, like he did this year to Wildwood, New Jersey, which I was there in the press pit, and it was easily 75,000 people on that beach, Michael, I'm kind of concerned that momentum or energy isn't going to transfer into any of the 3 Republican candidates. Now, again, one of them, ideally, you would think, is the Trump MAGA candidate, which is Bill Spadia. Again, the former president and the president-elect now has appeared on NJ 101.5 FM. The other 2 Republicans haven't really warmed up to the president-elect. Do you think those are coattails that any of the Republicans can ride for next year?
I think, the thing I will stress to any candidate here is this. You shouldn't rely on Donald Trump. You should rely on yourself. Be a voice that is appealing to the working class, and you'll resonate with people. And you won't have to say, "Oh, Trump, come here." It's like, no, I'm gonna fix this state for you. I'm gonna bring kitchen table issues to the forefront. I'm gonna lower your taxes. I'm gonna make sure that your kids have a quality education. These are things that people want. They don't want like, "Hey, what's your pronouns?" Because that doesn't put mac and cheese on the table. That doesn't get your kids to school. That all that stuff, other shit is bullshit. And if you are a candidate in New Jersey and you can resonate with, I don't want to be stabbed to death by an illegal, I want to better my life here. I want to be able to afford things here. I don't want windmills off my coast. I don't want to be mandated to death with EV vehicles. I don't want my propane or natural gas, what's it called, eviscerated from the state because of, green energy nonsense. You will win people. And the most important thing for New Jersey is winning independence. Did you know that we had 15,000 write-ins for an independence this last election? If independence went Donald Trump's way, New Jersey was within 3.5 points of victory. The most important thing here to know is that there are way more people here that are red than you think.
Yeah.
And if people can tap into that market, and it's about appeal, and this is where I stress with the NJGOP and your social media, streamline that thing, be on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, pump that information out. I shouldn't have to do this. You should be resonate with people every day. And I'm hoping that while working with them, and guiding them a little bit and bringing together these other groups, over the next year, we can make sure and really bring awareness. As I said, the MSN is not where the news is at. It's your stuff, my spaces, and so many grassroots organizations that are out there really making a difference and hammering home these issues.
I mean, 4 years ago, when Jack Chiarelli was challenging, again, the incumbent Phil Murphy, again, Democrats had not gotten reelected into the governor's seat, I think, way before I was born.
Yes.
Okay, going back to Brendan Byrne, that's how far back. But leave it to someone like Jack Chiarelli, whose campaign was, let's be honest, very vanilla. And, now it's like, okay, Republicans didn't really come out either. I think there was a stat I saw that in 2021, only 49% of registered Republicans came out to vote. If they weren't so fickle, if they weren't, what's that?
I think it was less than that, actually.
Okay, I thought maybe that was the number. But if Republicans weren't so fickle about, well, this guy's not conservative, I'm going to stay home. That's why we got Phil Murphy reelected. That's why, despite the fact that there are pockets of New Jersey where Phil Murphy was immensely unpopular because of the COVID mandates, because of keeping New Jersey shut down longer than they should have, keeping schools shut down, hurting local businesses, small business, hurting nightlife, hospitality, you name it. Jack Chiarelli and the NJGOP couldn't capitalize on that. And yes, and I was the only one that said, hey, this is going to be a close race, maybe 2 or 3 points. Everyone was like laughing at me. Oh, Fernando, you're out of your mind. I said, trust me, forget about polling. We've learned about polling. It's not exact science. It stopped being that after 2016. And I kind of feel that going into next year, Republicans, especially, listen, there's 80 assembly seats. I get it. There's some districts like mine up here in northern Hudson County where it's as blue as Windex. But Republicans should have learned their lesson from 23 and say, hey, there are districts in the assembly that are winnable. But the NJGOP has to put money into it. They need to call the national GOP and say, listen, we need money here. New Jersey can flip red if we put some money here. Case in point, the I believe CD9 race between Billy Prempeh and State Senator Nellie Poe. Again, if the national GOP, Michael, just put in maybe $1 million or more, maybe $2 million, Billy Prempeh almost unseated the handpicked successor for Bill Pascrell. And again, he was a grassroots guy that raised every nickel by himself. If the GOP just put like $2 million into that race, he only lost by 2 points. He could have won that. We could have flipped that seat. But again, that's an indictment of the NJGOP. To your point, I'm glad that you're going to light a fire under them because God knows they need it.
I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to help them out. Listen, I think what it comes down to is this, is that I'm going to use every tool and resource to my advantage to try to fix this state. I mean, you guys don't realize this. This is not my job. Like, I do this on the side. And it's because I want to fix New Jersey. I want you guys to say, we did it. I don't want people to say, I want us to say, we. It was a collaborative community effort. And that's what I'm trying to do, mostly on X. I'm on other platforms, but I think that building that community is what's important here, and you mentioned money. I think money is a very small part of it because like people are like, you need like fundraising, you need, to make sure you do all these events. I'm like, you can do a rally every second of the day on Twitter. You can get 50,000 people to see something. And that's important to understand. And that social media aspect of that is highly important and something the NJGOP is not using effectively. And I stress, legislators aren't using it effectively. Imagine every one of your legislators in New Jersey was telling you what's going on every day. I would have to do it. You know what I mean? They would be doing it and resonating with you and appealing to you and understanding like what this is and like what they're going to do about it and how to fix things. I'll give a shout out to Dawn Fantasia. She is my favorite legislator. Yes. She is hammering it home every second of the day. Amazing. And I love everything she's doing. And she is a blueprint for what every single legislator needs to do out there to resonate with and appeal to people.
You're absolutely right. And shout out to Dawn Fantasia, a great legislator, someone who really, I think, is advocating for parental rights, for transparency in Trenton. Speaking of which, again, folks, keep the comments coming. It's 7:21 here on the East Coast. My guest tonight is one of the co-founders for Wake Up NJ. You can check him out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Michael Archon joins us live here. Some great comments here. A D Patriot, 1776. Bring a lesbian to school day will be next. You know what? The D Patriot, I wouldn't doubt that in New Jersey whatsoever. Definitely shout out to Rennie Peterson. Also, folks, again, keep commenting, like, comment, and share. It takes 2 seconds on all of your social media platforms here on the Jersey First Television Network. Michael, another crusade of yours, which I admire greatly, is you are very much an advocate about parental rights. Now, on this program, I've had the chance to interview Alexandra Bauer, the Bergen County chair of Moms for Liberty, Gays Against Groomers also. And it just seems like, I'm not sure if you had a chance to check out NJ.com and NJ Advanced Media. It seems like they were very eager to write hit pieces about what they think is fringe or extremism in New Jersey politics and media. And obviously mentioning organizations like the ones I just listed right now, where somehow, these organizations are toxic. And no point in time is the Star Ledger or NJ.com or NJ Advanced Media talking about the extremism on the left, which is encompassing New Jersey. Again, case in point, parental rights. Why is vilifying parents a good thing? I can never get a straight answer from any left-wing organization or legislator that feels like, well, these parents have too much time on their hands. No, they're concerned about their 5-year-old. Listen, can we just let kids be kids? Can we let kids organically learn about the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus like everything else? The idea that we have to shove gender or have drag queen story time in some school districts is absolutely appalling, Michael.
Well, did you know that Santa Claus is banned for most of your schools in New Jersey?
I was aware, tragically.
It's once you realize that, it's insane. But it's okay to talk about sexual parts and positions. Like, that's okay. Like, it should just blow your mind about the level of malevolence in our curriculum for New Jersey. But man, shout out to Alexandra and Gays Against Groomers New Jersey. We work with them, and I was mentioning the book bans bill earlier. And well, they call it that. Really, what it comes down to is it's codifying, breaking the law, basically, for pushing inappropriate books and the obscenity law. But for parental rights, it's what comes down to is that the left and wing media thinks they own the narrative, and we're going to buck it, and we're going to work with all these organizations, and we're going to. Even if it's not my tweet or my post, let's jump on other people's things. So many people want to take advantage of polls or information or stories. If for example, I put out something, here's this bill. If 20 people put out the bill, that's spreading the wealth. Just focus your energy. Let's hit that thing to 1 million. And guess what? That makes a huge impact on things. And I said you could have a rally every single day on Twitter. And I really think that's an important thing here, is that we need to take back information from the left. The left is dying to hold on to the narrative. They're desperate because they know that they're losing. The ideological war is not in their favor. Parents on our side are waking up, and their mission is to demonize, is to villainize, is to push fear, is to isolate you and separate you. And I say, come together, bring more people. I say, be louder, be more vocal, share everything you can with your neighbors. If you showed parents these books that are in schools, I guarantee you, I don't care if they're a lefty or a righty or a middle of the road guy or, anybody, they're going to be like, what in the F is this?
I mean, and Michael, what's interesting, in the workforce, in the workplace, if you talked about sex in the workforce, I mean, you're bound to get a sexual harassment complaint hit against you, whether it's in the private sector or public sector. But somehow these legislators, and again, whether it's State Senator Swicker, whether it's Senate Majority Leader Teresa Ruiz, I mean, it seems like these left-wingers are so out of touch. And then they'll turn around and say, well, we don't know why New Jersey got redder in certain parts, and we don't understand why people like Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans are resigning. No, it's not about MAGA or anything. I've always been this type of conservative. I've always been a populist. I've always been someone that has called out the agenda of the alphabet mob, or trying to raise awareness about the fact that, folks, and I don't care how this sounds, I'll double down on this, the idea that whether it's unions like the NJEA, the AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, or other organizations think that it's okay to use taxpayer dollars or membership dues for drag queen story time, or to glorify trans people who listen, I hate to say it, I don't care how it sounds. I mean, folks, this is a mental illness. The idea that you're born a boy, that all of a sudden you think you become a girl, that's just not true. Okay, if you're born a girl, you're just not going to become a boy. You can cut off whatever extremities you want. I hate to break it to you. Your chromosomes are your chromosomes. And it just seems like this narrative keeps getting pushed, Michael, by these left-wing organizations. And to your point too, yeah, if it wasn't for citizen journalism or podcasters that are trying to raise awareness, the legislature in Trenton would gladly acquiesce to all this woke nonsense. But thankfully, again, you saw it on the breakdown on election day and the days after. Parts of New Jersey that were solidly blue have been turning red. It's not because, people are just, folks, it's not just about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is going to be in office for 4 more years. And then once he leaves, it's about maintaining that level of conservatism, activism, and populism. And we have a good bench, not just in New Jersey, but more so nationally. But it's up to your point, Michael, it's up to patriots like you that have to raise awareness, that have to stop, at least trying to, I would say, try to stop these organizations or stop local bookstores or public libraries. There's no reason why your local library in whatever town you live in, you don't have to tell me what town you live, but the town does not have to or should not have to exert tax dollars for drag queen storytime or Trans Day awareness at your local public library, which is paid for with tax dollars. If parents want to complain, it's their effing tax dollars.
I think, yeah, honestly. But, you mentioned, earlier, you mentioned people like like Garden State Equality and coming out there and saying, we're just like this fringe minority. I'm not too sure if you said that. But my point is that I think the biggest issue is that many people just aren't aware. I really, truly think that is one of the biggest problems, not only New Jersey, but just the country. How many of you folks at home know that there's a book called Gender Queer with highly sexualized content in schools in New Jersey? Like, how many of you know that? Like, imagine that you shared that book. Every single person watching this or on Twitter shared that with one person and said, do you think this is acceptable for a child to read? They would probably say no. And as I said, I don't care if it's a lefty or righty. They're going to say no. But that's the thing, though, is that they want to label you as this fringe minority when it really isn't like that at all. I think most people are common sense folk. I don't agree everything what Democrats do. There's certain programs that definitely need to be put into place, but you can't be a detriment on the system for like welfare programs and affordable housing. There has to be some sort of common sense, thought process with these things. You can't just blanket, go to, for example, townships and say, here, you're going to build affordable homes and I'm going to court mandate order you. You can't just pressing this leftist progressive ideology. It's unsustainable. It's gonna bankrupt New Jersey. I think we're like $7 billion coming up in the hole and coming up for New Jersey over the next couple of years. And that's because of the failures of the Murphy administration, too many programs. And right now he's actually cutting back things, not hiring more people because he sees the writing on the wall. And he wants to look good, by the way, for the assembly and the governor's race for the next person. And by the way, one other point, John Bramnick, and I don't endorse candidates and I don't talk about candidates often. That dude is a lefty. He actually voted for that book ban bill.
He did.
So, as he labeled book ban bill. And you ready for this? He's a co-sponsor of that bill. That man is not for parental rights. If you're listening to this right now and you think that John Bramnick is going to help you with your kids, that dude is a rhino in disguise. And I will flat out tell him every single day. I thought he was supposed to, by the way, drop out of the race if Trump won.
Well, it's interesting. He clarified that. He said if Trump won New Jersey,
drop out.
Right, it was interesting. Like he was all throughout the summer. He's like, well, if Trump wins, I'm going to drop out. But then it was like literally the day after. He's like, no, I let me clarify. If you won the state, and I'm thinking to myself, Trump came within, again, 4.5 points of winning New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And back to the governor's race, to mention some of the candidates, I just think it's going to be difficult. And I think you said it perfectly where, you can't ride the coattails. Republicans, conservatives have to run on a platform, especially for either assembly seats, Board of Ed seats, or local municipal races where, hey, by the way, I'm not just going to be like putting MAGA logos on my flyers or on my website. I'm going to tell you why I'm a better candidate than, let's say, I don't know, the 25-year incumbent in Bergen County that, at the municipal level, acquiesces to the alphabet mob and obviously caters to all the woke bullshit. So it's going to be interesting, I think, going into the primary season next year. And again, no county line either for both Democrats and Republicans. I got to tell you, though, Michael, I think that's a good thing. I think that chairs on both parties in various counties, I think, had way too much power. I think they were exerting way too much influence. And, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think we kind of want some diversity and some, I hate to use the word freedom, but I think flexibility on the ballot. I think it's, county bosses, county chairs in both parties. I think we're getting a little too comfortable with having that much influence over candidates and platforms. What do you think of the county line being dissolved?
Honestly, I don't know enough about it. My friends talk to me about it, and I think the biggest thing for me is this, and kind of looking at it. You have to know your candidates better now. And you should, honestly, you shouldn't just go down the line. You should know, I like that person because they're standing for, getting rid of windmills. This person's getting rid of X, Y, Z. And you should know what your candidates are. And I'm sorry that's really what it comes down to. But I also know that people are busy. I realize that they're in a state that's unaffordable. They're just trying to put food on the table. They're getting home 6, 7 o'clock at night, just getting a few hours with their kids. But if I can give them, on my platform and your platform, a nugget of 10 stories, 5 stories in a day to really, inform them about what's going on, I think that's worth my time. And I really just want to empower people to, want to make a difference and want to change things and really fix the state for themselves, not because someone told them to or because they're being paid. I want them to feel like, it was me. I did it. My little part, my bumper sticker, my t-shirt, my hat, whatever it was, sharing a story, 5 minutes a day is what I tell people. Give 5 minutes a day and I guarantee the state will be flipped.
No, really, absolutely. And by the way, great merch. I know you changed up the logo a little bit. Great stuff, man. So, whoever's designing that, that's
me.
Good stuff. to quote Vince McMahon, I know obviously maybe not the most popular person to ever reference, but he had a very famous line when he really liked something. And I saw the new merch and the new logo, and I was like, man, that's good shit, pal. I got it. That's really good stuff.
I appreciate that. What's funny is I had to think to myself, what am I going to charge for these things? And I take a penny off everything. I make no money off it. I just want people to just enjoy what I'm doing, enjoy the content. I will never charge you at all. I had to do a penny because that's what they made me do.
Sure,
and I'm going to put it right back into paying for Twitter or paying for Zoom calls or paying for Telegram. And just because I want to make sure that you're getting good information, because I feel that it's important to really help you guys out and want to make a difference.
Well, speaking about making a difference, Michael, it kind of begs the question. Again, we're about to wrap up here, folks, at 7:30 on the East Coast on the dot. My guest tonight is one of the co-founders of Wake Up NJ. You can check him out on Facebook, of course, follow him on Instagram and Twitter, and also on TikTok. Michael Archon joins us here live. You talk about making a difference. Well, it kind of begs the question, though, Michael. Public service is part of making a difference, and there are assembly seats up for grabs next year. Anything you want to tell us tonight? Maybe any pursuit of public office in 2025, brother?
I still have my construction job to do, but I will tell you what I like doing. I actually really like doing what I'm doing. I didn't think so. When I was a kid, I didn't like writing. I didn't like public speaking. And there was an inflection point in my life where I was in marching band and I had to really work with others and be a team. And I really feel like that really helped me grow and become from an introvert to an extrovert. When I go to Trenton, I love speaking there. I'm nervous as hell. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I think it's important to really go out there and really, showcase, hey, listen, if I can do this, you can do this, even on a small scale. And I don't think I'll ever run for office, at least as of right now. I don't know. Things in the future might change. But I will tell you what, I will try my best to do what Ed Durr did. And I love his campaign when he ran for office. And it was a social media campaign. And it really inspired me to what I'm doing right now. And showcasing that, listen, with enough activism online, enough grassroots, enough voices, you can really make your voice heard. And I said, all these people like door knocking, right? And they're spending time. Imagine that you use that time effectively to do, a space on Twitter or a YouTube interview with you. You're reaching hundreds of thousands of people. That reach is amazing. And I think that's an incredibly useful tool. So, just getting back to your question, I don't know. I really don't know. And I don't think people maybe want me there. I like doing honestly what I'm doing. I feel happy. I'm myself. But, when you run for office, sometimes you lose, I think, a part of you when you're in there because the lobbyists and you're not beholding. Because someone might be like, hey, listen, you want that bill, you're going to have to, do this XYZ thing. You know what I mean? And that's I would be fired in 2 years because of that.
Michael, I got to agree with you. I mean, I get the same sort of thing all the time. I heard a lot at the league. It's like, hey, Fernando, man, you have a good reach, you have a good voice, it's growing. Why aren't you running? And I said, listen, back in 2011, I was asked to run for state assembly. I ran a really good campaign as a Republican in a very, very blue district. I was very proud of the turnout and the numbers I produced. I'm cool. I think to echo what you said, I feel I found my niche. I feel I found like my brand. I feel that I'm making a difference in being different media. Again, we know about all the lazy journalists in New Jersey, right? In the establishment media, Tom Moran, Charles Stile, David Cruz, Max Pizarro, Alan Steinberg. I mean, all the typical propagandists that masquerade as journalists. I mean, I thought Halloween was over, but they're still masquerading around as journalists. It's really crazy to me. I feel, to your point, I can make more of a difference here. I can raise more hell. I'm not going to get canceled as quickly. Certainly, if I was a legislator and some of the things that I say that come out of my mouth, I probably wouldn't probably be censured by the legislature. Maybe. The point is, I think I see what you're talking about, because this sort of citizen journalism, I think this level of activism, we're seeing, to your point, podcasting is the new journalism. I know old school journalists don't like to hear that, because if you didn't go to school for a journalism degree, you didn't cut your teeth in the local newspaper, those days are dying. Print newspapers are dying. What are we seeing? We're seeing local news sites up here in Hudson County. We see Hudson County View, Jersey City Times. Down in Central Jersey, we see the Edison Reporter. We see New Brunswick Today. We see Central Jersey Newswire, down by you. I mean, we're seeing citizen journalism like yours, Wake Up NJ, the New Jersey Project. These are people that I think are now becoming the norm in journalism today. And we're here to stay, whether people like it or not.
Definitely. And I think it's important that people, know where to find things, whether you're talking about different grassroots organizations that focus on certain things like medical freedom, parental rights. I think once, we kind of get that focus, with that, and have that web of network, when people come up to me and they're like, hey, boom, dear, I'll send you over here. Or when I'm doing a space like on Wednesday about parental rights, like I'm going to bring on people that are Board of Education, how to run for Board of Education, and educate and teach them how to run for office, how to register yourself for, as a voter. Like the more we empower people with information, the more that they'll understand how to fix and take back their state. And I think that's very important. And that's not what media is doing. Media is just giving you, I hate to say it, a bunch of bullshit stories that are wasting your time. Like, really, I mean, like, everybody needs, fun things and maybe some distractions in life. But like, what it comes down to is like, what's your most valuable resource in life? What is it? It's time. It's not money. It's time. And you need to use your time effectively. And if you want to help us out, help us out. I'm not asking for much. As I said, 5 minutes a day. And just share, retweet, comment. All these things add up to a pile of sharing out information with people. And I really hope that, it takes off more and more and more. And I'm going to help other platforms gain more recognition, gain more views and followers, and really get a lot bigger. And that's my hope.
And you're doing that, Michael. Again, I'm proud of you, man. I mean, you're being a voice for regular New Jerseyans, for populists, right? For common sense conservatism that thankfully I think is making a return, especially what we saw 3 weeks ago, and again, it's all across demographics, college educated and college non-educated, white men and white women, Hispanics, black men and women, obviously, Asians. I mean, we're seeing Middle Eastern, residents. I mean, we're seeing, thankfully, a return to common sense and, normalcy. We didn't get that the last 4 years, right? What we were promised 4 years ago by Joe Biden when he was awake, right? Like, oh, I promised to bring us back to normalcy. and competency. We didn't get any of that for 4 years. We got transgender people, acting as, health experts. All right. We got cross-dressers, working the Department of Energy. All right. Right. I mean, we got, it's great. You want a lesbian in every cabinet position. You want this and that. That's awesome. That doesn't solve the problems of the American people. And we saw that. And I think there was an emphatic rebuke 3 weeks ago, Michael. And we'll see, obviously, if it translates into New Jersey becoming redder in the next election cycle, which, again, obviously begins on January 1st. Michael, before I let you go, man, listen, I love you, man. You're doing great stuff. I'm so proud of what you're doing with Wake Up NJ. Folks, again, go on their Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, buy some merch. They revamped their logo. It's really, as you can see there, hey, listen, you need some Christmas gifts? Do me a favor. Go and shop with Wake Up NJ and get your fellow patriots some good gear during the holiday season. So, Mike, I want to thank you for your time. You're always a gentleman to come on. I appreciate your kind words for my media brand. I'm really flattered, man. I'm humbled by your support and quite frankly, I think your encouragement here. So I want to thank you for that. I do want to thank everything that you're doing. I want to wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. I'll give you the last word tonight on Real Talk.
I appreciate that, Fernando. And thank you again for having me on. And just remember, guys, it's diversity is not the key. It's best qualified. And, one of our slogans is "You're the difference," and it's important for you to get involved. Whether, as I said, bumper sticker, wearing a T-shirt, talking to your neighbor, every little thing matters, and every little thing counts towards waking people up, and that's the goal here. Okay, and the more we do that, the more we flip the state red. And I promise you, it's. I won't gonna lie to you. It'll take time, but with enough people and enough motivation and enough inspiration, I guarantee you we can do it. Morale is the biggest problem we face in New Jersey, and I mean to rectify that. I'm going to give you guys hope and empower you and encourage you and try to inspire you as much as possible to want to make a difference. And I just love bringing people together. It makes me happy. It gets me up every day to want to do this handle. And people like Fernando, really, you inspired me to want to, do interviews and want to do spaces because I see what you're doing. And, I'm doing it on a smaller scale on Twitter, but I feel like, it's important. So definitely check us out on spaces on X every Wednesday at 8 o'clock. And Fernando, I appreciate having us on, man. Thanks.
Brother, keep up the good work. I appreciate the kind words, man. I'm deeply humble. And listen, for everyone that knows me, I'm not the most humble guy around. I'm deeply humble in moments like this. Folks, he is Michael Archon, one of the co-founders of Wake Up NJ. Once again, check him out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Michael, once again, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Keep up the good work. And once again, we'll see you soon here on Real Talk on the Jersey First Television Network. Take care, Michael.
Take it easy for now. Thank you for having me on.
Have a good one, brother.
You too.
Folks, again, great stuff there by Michael Archon. Again, one of the co-founders for Wake Up NJ. Need some new gear. Need some gifts for the holiday season. Folks, I've already started my Christmas shopping. Want a cool hat, T-shirts, bumper stickers, whatever. Folks, go to Wake Up NJ and let everyone know on your Christmas shopping list how important it is to get back to common sense politics and common sense conservatism, which is what we got 3 weeks ago. Let's transfer that momentum and energy into 2025. And listen, maybe we'll get a Republican governor. Who knows? And certainly, what we're seeing from Democrat candidates, again, you want to be this short-sighted, you want to be this in denial about what happened 3 weeks ago. It may not be a very good November in 2025 for Democrats once again, or anytime soon, if they don't seem to sort of get out of their way and this insistence on woke nonsense and everything else. Folks, it could be a problem for Democrats coming up in the new year. And again, Republicans just got to be smart about it, win some assembly seats. Okay, you got some mayoral races in New Jersey. Win these seats, folks. Let's turn New Jersey as red as my shirt and as red as the logo here on the Jersey First Television Network. Folks, again, we appreciate you again sticking with us here at 7:45 here on the East Coast. Don't go anywhere. Again, if you're just joining us live, it takes 2 seconds. Like, comment, and share. Let everyone know how much you enjoy Real Talk with Fernando Uribe on the Jersey First Television Network. Yes, folks, it's that time of the show. I know it's what you've been waiting for. It's time for Final Thoughts. And folks, it's a little bit of a doubleheader here on Final Thoughts because I have to really take into account here the disaster and the joke that is the city of Hoboken under the leadership of course, Ravi Bala, along with his minions known as the Lollipop Guild, which include council members Joe Quintero, who, by some grace of God, got a law degree. I mean, it kind of makes you wonder how easy it is to get these days. I wouldn't trust this clown to defend me in traffic court, much less actually try a case in any sort of municipal or criminal court. And of course, you have, the prom queen, Emily Jabor, right? One of these incessant and insufferable feminists with mom's demand actions that's always about gun safety and gun control and gun violence. Honey, here's a newsflash for you. Okay? The majority of gun violence in this country is committed with handguns. Handguns that are purchased illegally. Because law-abiding gun owners, they're not the problem. But people like Emily Jabor and the other insufferable feminists and cat ladies with mom's demand action will bitch and moan to the heavens about, how unsafe our culture is. Where here in New Jersey, the governor and his lapdog, Attorney General Matt Platkin, make it as difficult as possible for New Jerseyans to protect themselves. In some cases, Hoboken residents. More on that later. Of course, we have Jim Doyle, the charisma vacuum there. I mean, folks, this is a guy who, even if you had him reciting the alphabet, that'd still be boring. But that's who Jim Doyle is. And of course, when we talk about other charisma vacuums in Hoboken, of course, we look at Phil Cohen along with Ravi Bala there. And folks, again, as I mentioned before, if you ever are near Phil Cohen in an enclosed area, be careful. With the size of that nose and those nostrils, again, you might pass out from oxygen deprivation. So be careful when you see him. Make sure it's outdoors. Make sure there's plenty of air to breathe in, because God knows with the size of that schnoz, okay, I got to tell you, folks, you're running the risk of passing out. And also, again, being another charisma vacuum. But folks, this is where I'm going to take to task the mayor and the Lollipop Guild, because what has been happening in Hoboken lately? Hoboken has become an absolute, let's be honest, a shithole, a cesspool, and just downright garbage. That's what's happened to the Mount Square city, a city that I enjoy visiting quite often, a city that, quite frankly, I enjoy dining at, partying at, visiting girls at, okay? Booty calls whenever they're available. Again, I like visiting Hoboken, okay? But one of the things that Ravi Bala is not doing as mayor of Hoboken is keeping Hoboken safe. Because again, folks, here's the truth about Ravi Bala, Joe Quintero, Emily Jabor, Jim Doyle, and Phil Cohen. These fools are more preoccupied with pronouns than they are property taxes. As Hoboken continues to become exorbitantly expensive, they don't care. They'd rather virtue signal and make sure you don't misgender anybody than helping residents who've been lifelong residents be able to stay in Hoboken and be able to afford to stay in Hoboken. That's not on their radar. They'd rather virtue signal, right? More on that a little bit later. But this is what we've come to learn about Ravi Bala. And a couple of editorials that I think we saw in the last couple of weeks, I think have a lot to say about what's going on in Hoboken. Now, let me give a shout out to Hoboken, Republican Committee Executive Director Pavel Sokolov. Okay, big fan of this show. Loves to share my content. Love you, Pavel. Okay, and it was a very interesting editorial that he submitted to the Hudson County View. By the way, happy birthday to a member of the Pinnacle, the walking weapon himself, the editor, John Robert Highness. I'm a big fan of this show, and obviously I'm a big fan of his. Okay. Interesting editorial, though, where Pavel mentions the obvious. He goes on to say, quote, "The brutal assault in Church Square Park a few weeks ago was tragic and unfortunately the culmination of failed leadership and policy from the Bala administration." Yes, folks, when you decide to be as woke as possible and evoke progressive policies, that's why your city is going to shit. Now, Ravi Bala doesn't want to admit that, and neither does the Lollipop Guild, right? Because again, they're more concerned with pronouns than public safety. That's a fact. That's not slander. That's not defamation. That is fact, because we're seeing it play out in front of our eyes. Now, Pablo goes on to write, for years now, a common refrain was the growing sense of danger and rising criminality in Hoboken. Yet it took an abhorrent act of violence in broad daylight to elicit a response from Bala a few weeks later. Of course, in his latest editorial, Ravi Bala decries the rise in voters for President Trump throughout Hudson County, an increase of roughly 20%. Now, he fails to recognize the very policies he champions are the direct cause of this shift. Early day voters aren't impressed with his bullshit record on civil rights. Instead, they're concerned about rising grocery prices, rising crime, and marked increases in vagrancy. It's beyond hypocritical to tout Hoboken as a, quote, welcoming city, yet demonizing a third of the electorate. But again, Ravi Bala is that myopic. Because what have we learned about Ravi Bala? He's a clown. We saw during this primary season, he was trying to challenge freshman representative Ron Menendez, and he got smoked royally, which he'll never really talk about because why would you? Okay. Pablo is going to say, furthermore, Bala's administration claims to support affordability, but has consistently created new patronage positions in City Hall to reward former failed Team Bala candidates with director roles. Even worse, a slew of lawsuits from political reprisal firings to reneging on development deals have cost Hoboken taxpayers millions of dollars. Now, folks, not tens of thousands of dollars, but millions of dollars. Okay. Of course, Pavel ends his editorial with, let's make Hoboken safe again. Okay. Now, what's important, and Pavel also mentions it in the editorial, MAGA Republicans did not cause Hoboken's downward spiral. Bala Democrats did, which again include the prom queen, Emily Jabor, useless Joe Quintero, useless Jim Doyle, and useless Uncle Phil Cohen. But that's the thing, though, folks. As Hoboken continues to become a shithole, Ravi Bala will just be oblivious. Here's another one here. Another editorial to the Hudson County View from a local resident, Joseph Palombini, describing what he felt was an emperor has no clothes moment at the recent public safety meeting. All right. I'm not going to read you the whole editorial. I mean, it's actually a really good editorial if you have a chance to read it from Mr. Palombini. All right. But he mentioned a line here that was quite interesting. He says, rather than confirm this vital foundation of a functional city to my shock, the ineptitude of our mayor and our public safety apparatus was on full display. Right? Nearly each was supported as metrics as they back up. Now, of course, the unhoused population has exploded. Of course, we are looking at residents filing complaints about what's going on in Church Square Park. Okay. Now, let me just sort of give you a perspective here. Folks, what happened in Church Square Park just a few weeks ago, was, to the best of my knowledge, a nanny working in Hoboken in broad daylight got assaulted by a mentally ill man. But of course, because of cash bail and bail reform, which continues to drag the state down into the gutter, the man received a summons. This woman was the victim of a serious aggravated assault. And you would think that Ravi Bala and the Lollipop Guild would be more concerned about public safety. Because, folks, every June during Pride Month, you know what that money you spend on repainting all the crosswalks with rainbow colors? Because you're so eager to appease the alphabet mob. Because, oh my God, if you don't appease the alphabet mob, God help us, the world will burn. Folks, that's the level of myopia, politically speaking, when it comes to Ravi Bala. Now, remember that much of the heat about Ravi Bala and I stems from, I remember a post, but a comment I had made, obviously, on the mayor's page in the summer of 2023. But it bears repeating. Because, again, this is where the priorities are for Ravi Bala, Emily Jabor, Joe Quintero, Jim Doyle, and Phil Cohen. And I'll say it again, because instead of hiring more police officers with the money you waste on painting the crosswalks and welcoming Hudson Pride and welcoming Garden State Equality and having all these virtue signaling days during Pride Month, right? What Ravi Bala loses sight of, what he loses sight of, is the obvious. And the obvious is this, and I remember I wrote this down. I wrote in the summer of 2023, which he decided to take me to task on. Again, folks, 29,000 views and following. And the comment section wasn't very kind to the mayor. But I'm going to double down on this because it's the truth. What Mayor Bala and his minions need to remember is that the LGBTQ community is the most privileged minority in the history of the United States. Every institution goes out of their way to honor and celebrate them. Laws are altered and catered to their emotions. Ultimately, society is rearranged to validate and affirm them. Yet, they still say that they're oppressed. But that's the woke nonsense that Ravi Bala wants to push on Hoboken. So again, instead of worrying about real world issues in Hoboken, it's pronouns over property taxes. It's pronouns over public safety. And what we learned over the weekend, apparently now the latest crusade for the virtue signaler in chief there in Hoboken is now it's pronouns and Palestine over public safety and property taxes. Let's go to cut one. Shout out to John R. Highness, the editor of Let's Kind of View, for providing this video to the mayor's recent speech.
Somewhat unfortunate news is that there's been a lot of folks who like misconstrued or mischaracterized this gathering as a way that is somewhat negative, that is somehow associated with things that don't represent Hoboken, and have actually asked me to cancel this event, to not have this event. But I want to make sure that I am absolutely clear. I will not cancel the people of Palestine.
Sleep here.
Canceling people and canceling communities that actually, in my view, perpetuates marginalization and oppression of people. So that's something that we will not tolerate in the city of Hoboken. And when I met, this is what, when I was a young student, I took the time to actually, sit down with people from the West Bank. And
Sure you did. Absolutely. Sure.
A loving people, a welcoming people, an intelligent community, a thoughtful community. Same with the people I met in Israel. And it's that connection, that humanity, that I want to make sure that we try to promote in the city of Hoboken as well, because that's what I came away with when I took the time to actually sit down and meet with people from the Palestinian community. I want to also make clear that this is not by any means a political gathering. We don't have political gatherings on government premises.
No, never.
This is a gathering
Never.
to celebrate Palestinian people, their culture, their heritage, and most importantly, to let the Palestinian people know that in the city of Hoboken, you are recognized. We recognize.
Oh my God, folks! Again, thank you to John R. Highness, the editor of the Hudson County View, for that exclusive video. Shout out to him, the birthday boy, by the way, John R. Highness. Folks, again, it's a reminder, and a shout out to HUD Post, to James De Los Santos, reporting on this as well. Obviously, the mayor addressing the backlash over the Palestinian flag raising. Again, folks, with everything going on in Hoboken, with the high cost of rent and no parking and crime potentially spiking to where Police Chief Ferrante and the mayor aren't really interested in having police officers really address calls or make sure that they're arresting people. All right. It seems like the mayor is more concerned with Palestine than public safety. Should it surprise you? And by the way, folks, let me just say this, because I'll double down on this too. I could care less about Palestine. I don't care. I'll say it openly. I'm the only journalist in New Jersey media that during the protest on the campus of Columbia University, I was the only journalist that actually left his house and actually did real journalism. You don't expect that from David Cruz. He's too busy thinking about what his next meal is. Or Tom Moran. Yeah, he went to Rutgers, but what? He leaves his house like, what, once every 2 months? Okay. I went into the belly of the beast, as they say, into the lion's den on the campus of Columbia University. And what do we see, folks? What do we see? We saw a bunch of jihadists protesting, destroying property on the campus of Columbia University, all in the name of what's going on in Gaza and in Palestine. Folks, let's be very clear. On this program, we stand with Israel. We always will. And I'm the only journalist who, wait a second, wait for it, the only journalist that stands up for Jewish people. I'll say that. I'll double down on that one too. It's not David Cruz, not Tom Moran, not Charles Stile, not Max Pizarro, not Jay Lasseter, not Bob Hennelly, not Alan Steinberg. Okay? Not any of these people. Nobody at NJ Spotlight News, nobody at the Bergen Record, nobody at Insider NJ, nobody at Politico. Okay? I'm the only journalist standing up for Jewish people. Jewish people that I know that are either students or people employed at universities in the tri-state area, whether it be Columbia University, NYU, Barnard, Rutgers, Hunter College, any CUNY college under the CUNY system. I'm the only person willing to stand up and say, hey, enough's enough with this hatred for Jewish people. Because, folks, what have we seen? I talked about it during the spring, and I'll talk about it again. And I know there's a lot of, social media watchdogs and little, insufferable feminists and cat ladies and other social justice clowns and woke fools and pathetic little whiny bitches online that will vilify me and say, well, how dare you use the word jihadist? Folks, that's what they are on college campuses. Okay? If you remember the little footage that I put up during the spring, what did we learn from the 1930s? What did we learn from the steps of Vienna University in Austria? What did we see? We saw Nazis, soldiers in Austria trying to stop Jewish students from entering the university and trying to get an education. Right? And almost 80 years later, what are we seeing on college campuses? We're seeing Nazis with headscarves doing the exact same thing to Jewish students. Because on this show, I'll stand up for Israel. On this show, I'll stand up for Jewish people. Okay? I'm not going to coddle or virtue signal for Palestine or any of this other nonsense. I'm just not. I don't care how that sounds. If you don't like it, come at me. I said what I said. I'll say it again. I'll double down if you want. The bottom line is that in a city like Hoboken that has a long list of problems, once again, you can always rely on Ravi Bala to virtue signal, to push the woke agenda. And hey, who was a dying in hell about making Hoboken this progressive and welcoming city? As we've seen, Hoboken is going to shit. That's what, under the leadership or lack thereof of Ravi Bala and Emily Jabor and Joe Quintero and Jim Doyle and Phil Cohen, Hoboken is becoming a mess, if not already a mess. And this is where I'm going to implore council members and potential mayoral candidates like Mike Russo, okay, Ruben Ramos, perhaps Tiffany Fisher, By the way, someone check on Tiffany Fisher because, it's been a bad month for her in November, with her severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. Hopefully, check on Tiffany, for God's sakes. I mean, I know she hasn't been doing well. So maybe the symptoms that she's exhibited about Trump derangement syndrome, hopefully they've subsided. It's kind of like having like a bad cold. Like you'll have like a runny nose and a sore throat for a little bit, but eventually that leaves you and that leaves your body. Hopefully it left Tiffany Fisher. But I'm imploring potential candidates in Hoboken. You're so eager to fix up Hoboken and clean it up? Announce now. Start holding this administration accountable. You can do it at council meetings all you want. That's great. That's effing cute. Announce your candidacy. Start holding these clowns accountable. And in November of 2025, make sure that whether it's Ravi Bala who runs for another term or the prom queen, Emily Jabor, make sure they don't sniff the mayor's seat ever again. Because what have we seen with these individuals? These clowns have ruined Hoboken, the birthplace of Sinatra, the birthplace of baseball, a city that we all enjoy going to, especially in the summer. I love going to Pier 13. I love going to eat at restaurants. But what have we seen in Ravi Bala's Hoboken? I'm going to say it again. They're more concerned with pronouns and Palestine, which I don't care about. But you know what they should care about? Public safety, property taxes, and just some normalcy. Can we get back to some normalcy in Hoboken? Can we make Hoboken safe again? Can we make Hoboken normal again? Please, let's get back to that. Because I can tell you right now, with Ravi Bala and this administration, we're nowhere near that. Folks, also, by the way, again, I mean, you can see there, I mean, give me a break. The mayor is just, folks, this is a disgrace. It's embarrassing. And the mayor and the entire administration at City Hall should be ashamed of yourselves. But then again, that will require all you fools to have shame, and we all know you don't have any. Own that. Because we all know it. We all know that you don't have any. Speaking about, well, obviously, as I mentioned before, obviously, I mean, it goes without saying about the priorities in Hoboken. Tells you everything. Folks, this picture right here tells you all you need to know. Okay? No one cares about pronouns. No one cares about coddling trans people. No one cares about coddling the alphabet mob. People care about getting to their door safe, making sure their garbage is collected, making sure that property taxes are reasonable. That's what matters in Hoboken, folks, not this woke nonsense. Again, you want to keep having it? Keep voting people in like Ravi Bala and Emily Jabor, Jim Doyle, Joe Quintero, and Phil Cohen. Folks, you get what you vote for when you vote these clowns in. Speaking of clowns, folks, and again, of course, obviously the month of November, we've seen our fair share of Trump derangement syndrome, right? We've seen our fair share of Trump derangement syndrome when it comes to the agenda of the 45th and now soon to be 47th president-elect, Donald Trump. And when we think about virtue signaling clowns, obviously, Ravi Bala leads the way in Hoboken, but leading the way next door in Jersey City, right, is one of my favorite insufferable feminists and cat ladies, Amy Torres, the executive director of the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice. Folks, I can smell the cat piss just by looking at this picture. I can just smell it. I can hear like in the background, like you could just hear that, right? And it's a shame I didn't have a chance to run into Amy. I think she was looking to say hi to me. I get it, Amy. I mean, you're not the first girl that wants to set his eyes on Fernando Uribe. I get it, But yeah, honey, you're not my type. Sorry. Yeah, I actually like good-looking women. So, nice try, though. If you want to come up and say hi, I wouldn't have given you the time of day, though. But, not the first insufferable leftist activist that likes to set his eyes on Fernando Uribe, and certainly won't be the last. But, of course, Amy Torres, folks, along with the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, is having a meltdown. Let me just give you some context here, obviously. As on their website, they wrote, New Jersey braces for rapid expansion of immigration detention starting in December. Now, according to the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, New Jersey is bracing for a rapid expansion of private immigration detention. A recent U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Form 8K filing by the GEO Group Incorporated on November 13th revealed that GEO is, quote, currently responding to a procurement of a 15-year contract with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, to be awarded by the end of December 2024 in Newark. Previously, the facility had capacity for up to 1,200 beds, though filings show they are anticipating a minimum of 600 beds to start. Of course, earlier today, the American Civil Liberties Union uncovered additional significant details about ICE's plans to expand immigration detention at other facilities in New Jersey. The document reveals proposals for new detention sites in Trenton, thank the Lord, and expansion of the Elizabeth Detention Center, the EDC, currently the state's only operational immigration jail. These plans raise grave concerns that New Jersey may become ground zero for the incoming Trump administration's mass deportation and detention agenda across the Northeast, affecting nearby communities in New York and Philadelphia. Folks, again, as you can see there, and obviously, if you were aware, obviously the weekend after the election, certainly insufferable organizations like the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, Make the Road New Jersey, and other folks. I mean, again, just look at the picture there. You can smell the cat piss just looking at this picture with insufferable feminists and cat ladies and all the beta males, which you can see there in the background. Folks, what Amy Torres, again, and organizations like the one she runs, what they fail to understand is that illegal immigration is a problem. Now, I get it for someone like Amy Torres, who lives in downtown Jersey City, lives off her husband's money, and the hardest part of her day is, buying another, I don't know, cappuccino at Starbucks. But for people with real jobs like yours, surely that work real hours, like, 50, 60 hours like I do, we understand what's going on because of illegal immigration. We understand that schools are getting overcrowded in New Jersey and around the country, that illegals are using up our social services, that illegals are crowding our emergency rooms, that illegals are bringing down the quality of life and the real estate market by crowding 10, 15, up to 20 people into an apartment or a house. That is the damage. And in some cases, irreparable damage that illegals are doing to our society. Never mind the fact of all the criminality. Lake and Riley, right? Okay, staying silently over in California. We're seeing violent criminal illegals, not just destroying our way of lives, but destroying families. You think that matters to Amy Torres? Of course not. Because Amy Torres would rather virtue signal and tell you how evil deportation is when, again, it's simply about preserving borders and preserving sovereignty. See, here's an education for Amy Torres, because God knows if anyone needs it, it's this annoying. It's a family show. I don't want to use some words that'll get me kicked off the YouTube or other platforms. Okay. Amy, my dad's Colombian. If I decide to visit Colombia like I do, and I decide to stay there, I'm not a Colombian citizen. Okay. If I decide to stay there and try to get a job, try to get a driver's license, and try to do anything, you know what's going to happen to me in Colombia, sweetie? I'll get deported, or I'll just get removed from Colombia. Why do you think illegals are entitled to so much here in the United States? Okay. You want to come here the right way legally? Cool. I'm all about that. My parents did. I don't know if your parents did. But I can tell you that when you come the right way, there are channels. But again, if I decided to stay in Colombia and live in Bogota, one of my favorite cities, and I decided to get a job there without any, without a cellular, which is what you need, right? Identification. And I decided to try to apply for social services or try to apply to go to college there because maybe I want to get an extra degree from all the various degrees I already have. I can't do that, Amy, because they understand that there's something called sovereignty. And if I'm not a Colombian citizen, then I'm not eligible, or nor do I have a right to access anything that a Colombian citizen can. Why is that so hard for you? I get it. You don't do anything. Again, you sit at home, you scratch your ass, and you run some Mickey Mouse nonprofit organization. You stand there with a megaphone with the rest of the cat ladies and feminists down in Exchange Place, making noise and bitching and moaning. But are you really offering any solutions? No, you're not. And that's the problem with people like Amy Torres. Their heart might be in the right place, but her head's up her ass. And that's what we've learned about Amy Torres. A woman who's so sensitive and so easy to trigger that, of course, her Twitter account is private. Because God forbid we ever got to see what she tweets out, and if people were ever to comment and rebut to her. Folks, that's the definition of the insufferable feminist and left-winger, if I ever saw one. But again, folks, when we think about Amy Torres, folks, can we really take her seriously and the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice seriously? Of course not. Can't take them seriously. Nor should we. Because, folks, illegal immigration is a serious problem. Okay? Illegal immigration is plaguing our country. Illegal immigration is destroying New Jersey. Now we have some gubernatorial candidates thinking we should codify making New Jersey a sanctuary state. It's bad enough that Phil Murphy coddles illegals the way he does, and that Matt Placken, this joke of an attorney general, does the same thing. But now, and for years now, we've had insufferable activists like this woman behind me getting into the ears of legislators and destroying the state. I get it, Amy. When you don't work for a living and you just sit in your ass and collect a paycheck, I get it. Real world common day issues and problems, they don't affect you. But to regular people that work real jobs like me and others, yeah, we're worried about illegals. We're worried about them committing crimes, overcrowding our schools, kids coming across the border, or pregnant women coming across the border, having kids here. And guess what? now it's our responsibility to have to take care of them. You think Amy Torres cares about that? Of course not. Because Amy Torres would rather virtue signal and tell you how bad conservatives are and how bad sovereignty is when this woman clearly never passed a U.S. history course. If there's anyone that needs to sort of spend some money on going back to school, it's someone like Amy Torres. Folks, it's pretty embarrassing, but it's also not a surprise when you think about how bad organizations like the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice create here in New Jersey. And of course, all the problems that people like Amy Torres contribute to also. But you know what? I am not someone that is, lacking compassion. I know over the weekend, their Twitter page and their social media was, oh my God, they were so, disappointed to hear that ICE was going to be setting up camps again in New Jersey. And you know what, folks? Because I'm such a compassionate person, it's the holiday season. When I learned about ICE returning to New Jersey, God, you want to make me think about? Maybe think about a great Christmas song and Christmas coming early.
Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad.
Oh, let's play it again, folks. That was really good.
Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad.
Oh my God. Yes, folks. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Oh God. Yes. Let's pack them up. Let's send them back. Oh, folks, Christmas coming early for me. I'll tell you. So again, ICE camps can't come soon enough for me. Folks, deportations, folks, Santa, make me happy this holiday season. Deport them all. I won't miss them. I'll tell you that much, folks. And those are my final thoughts. Actually, let's listen to the song again.
Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad, próspero año y felicidad. Feliz Navidad.
Oh, folks, that's amazing. I think I might play this like every week on the show here. My God. And once again, those are my final thoughts. Folks, once again, I want to thank Michael Archon, one of the co-founders for Wake Up New Jersey. Great organization. Of course, everything that they're doing, I can't say enough, folks. Keep up the good work, Michael, and all the great people at Wake Up NJ. You're doing God's work and trying to bring back common sense policies and common sense conservatism into New Jersey. Hopefully, we can flip it red sometime soon. Folks, before we call it a night, I do a couple of special announcements here. I'm someone who gets accused of not being compassionate and not being, kind to my fellow man. It is the holiday season, and we do celebrate Thanksgiving this week. But folks, it was brought to my attention last week on November the 22nd. One of the more notorious Trump derangement syndrome propagandists in New Jersey celebrated a birthday. So you know what? I want to be kind, and I want to wish Alan Steinberg a happy 97th birthday to Alan. Again, hopefully in your later years here, as you're continue to just be delusional with TDS, hopefully in what's left of your life, you maybe hopefully return to some sense of normalcy. But again, I want to be a nice guy, and I want to wish Sleepy Alan a very happy birthday. Yes, folks, happy 97 to Alan Steinberg. Yes, baby, yes. Let's see if you can get to 100, Al. I mean, in your mental state, it's maybe tough to call. But once again, happy 97th birthday to Alan Steinberg, a journalist who, let's be honest, I have zero respect for. But a journalist who I do have respect for, folks, he is the editor of Hudson County View. He's a member of the Pinnacle and a fellow Rutgers alumnus, John R. Highness. This weekend, we had the privilege of taking John out for dinner. Obviously, other members of the Pinnacle, the strategist, the dean himself, obviously, the Pinnacle hitting downtown Newark before going to the Prudential Center to watch AEW's Full Gear, their annual pay-per-view. Not a bad show, believe it or not. Actually, Prudential Center was pretty full. But on behalf of everybody here at the Jersey First Television Network and on behalf of the Pinnacle, let's wish John Highness a very happy birthday. Yes, folks, happy birthday to John Highness, the walking weapon. And of course, the king of Hudson County media now, that the Jersey Journal is going by the wayside. Good riddance to the Jersey Journal and Ron Zetlinger, Josh Rosario, and the rest of the clowns there. Folks, as the dust settled, as the sun set, nice to see John R. Highness getting that W. And now being the king of media in Hudson County. Keep up the good work, Johnny. Happy birthday and many more to you. Folks, that's our show for this week. Once again, I want to thank Michael Archon, one of the co-founders of Wake Up NJ, for a great episode tonight. Once again, folks, make sure you like us on Facebook. Of course, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And don't forget to check us out on YouTube. And of course, whether it's on Spotify or SoundCloud, download Jersey First and take us with you anywhere at any time. Of course, I can't say enough how privileged I am to be working with the dream team of Garden State Media. That's right, folks. It is Jersey First TV. Brand new episodes of the Nader Narrative premiere every Thursday, hosted by the amazing Elizabeth Nader. And of course, brand new episodes of Bridging the Gap with AJ Malillo premiere every Thursday as well. And brand new episodes of Real Talk with Fernando Uribe premiere every Monday night. Check out local listings, of course, here on Jersey First TV. Always remember, folks, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always Real Talk right here on the Jersey First Television Network. I am New Jersey's premier award-winning journalist, top Latino, as voted on by Latino Spirit Online magazine, along with the United States Latino Affairs Initiative, and certainly, folks, I'll continue to be the weapon of mass disruption in Garden State media, because my level of honesty is truly necessary in this era of journalistic deception. That's right, folks. It's me, Fernando Uribe. Have a great Thanksgiving, folks. I'm truly grateful and thankful to all of you for the continued success of Real Talk with all the traffic. Folks, again, not like some of the Mickey Mouse traffic with Mickey Mouse journalists. Nah, folks, on this show, it's real traffic because it's Real Talk. Folks, once again, enjoy your Thanksgiving. Enjoy the football, the turkey. Please party responsibly on Wednesday night during Thanksgiving Eve. Enjoy it with your families. And by the way, best of luck to the Union City High School Soaring Eagles, as they'll be at MetLife Stadium this Friday afternoon at 2 p.m. to take on Toms River North High School in the state sectional championship. Tickets are only $15 and $20 to park at MetLife. So I can't believe I'm actually saying these words because you know how much I hate the Philadelphia Eagles. But folks, let's go Soaring Eagles and let's go Union City High School this Friday at MetLife Stadium. Folks, once again, take care of yourselves. Thanks for stopping by. Happy Thanksgiving. Always remember, stay classy, everyone.